yourself a heart attack and find Dr. Lloyd.
Tom Waits is an American blues slash jazz slash experimental singer, songwriter, and musician. He started out as a jazz musician and singer in 1971, vocal jazz, and he morphed into more blues folk area. And then as time went on, he got some decidedly experimental elements going on in his music. He's created a kind of hobo slash beat poet persona. He's been incredibly successful worldwide. He's also worked as an actor. Since his first album came out in 1973, he's had 17 more. Hi, my name's Dan. So this was the 7th studio album by Tom Waits, and it's my first time listening to it. And this is my 3rd album review in a row of albums that were released around the same time. So I think sequentially they've been 78, 79, 1980. They're all solo male singers that are American, all kind of, I think, similar stages in their career. They're quite different musically, but there are kind of elements of Americana in a couple of them. And I've just done them all back to back, as you might be able to tell from the fact that I've got the same top on. Let's get into this album. This is, it's Tom Waits. Is gritty Americana singer-songwriter, and he's got a particular thing about him and the way he attacks the music that he's producing. But as always, different albums have got different things to them. So some tracks are quite bluesy on this. The first track, there's a second track is interesting. I'll come back to that. And there's a few later on that have got kind of quite a blues element to them. In some ways, it's a weird mixture, this album, actually. So some of them are this kind of grungy roots rock kind of feel that I associate quite strongly with Tom Waits. The second track on the album is a blues instrumental that is either recorded live or faked live. I think it's probably faked live. It's kind of odd, and I don't really know why it's in there, because it doesn't really work with the rest of the album particularly well. Some of the songs are kind of more laid back and more kind of croony singer-songwriter stuff with strings in, and I'm going to emphasize this because they're really out of place, these strings. It just doesn't work, in my opinion. Now, this is 1980, checking the time, early 70s. I know that sometimes it was the record companies that kind of insisted they have strings put on because they had this perception that songs with strings sold well. By 1980, I would have thought they'd have got over that. Yeah, it's weird. So maybe this is Tom Waits because he does do some odd things. I didn't know Tom Waits before I started doing reviews. However, before this set of reviews that are on the videos, I did have a blog where I was doing reviews as well, and I reviewed several Tom Waits albums through that. I've done a few through the videos. When I first encountered Tom Waits, I was completely bemused. I thought he was taking the mickey. It was a little bit extreme. This album is not as way out as some of his albums in the recording and the use of different kind of instrument tones and stuff. And in some ways, well, actually the affected singing is not quite as extreme as some of his albums, but it's still pretty extreme. So he has various extremes of gravelly voices. So sometimes it's really deep and gravelly. Sometimes it's in the middle and a bit less gravelly. Sometimes it's kind of wheezy like this. My son made a comment when he heard some of it. He said he was recovering from doing death metal vocals. Often the words are hard to make out. So the song content, thoroughly maudlin. It's like he's drowning in his own misery. This definitely is Tom Waits' thing. He's not a person who's looking on life through rose-tinted glasses. He's basically looking at life through the bottom of his beer glasses, really. There's lots of references to drinking and to what Terry Pratchett called negotiable affection. Actually, having said all these things, some of this is going to come across as negative. The song Saving All My Love for You would come across as a really tender song, and I would really like it if it wasn't for the strings, because they're awful on it. So, overall, for this album, it's okay. If you're a fan of Tom Waits, it's more of the same. It's not as bonkers as some, and I kind of enjoyed it in a respectful but muted way. So that's what I think. I'd love to know what you think. So please do enlighten me and elucidate me and inform me by leaving me a comment. And that's it from me for now.
It's too early for the circus, so late for the bars. Everyone's sleeping but the paper boys, and no one in this town is making it.